Alright, we're going to go over getting this set to cut squish. This is the large size mandrel. We got a 52mm cylinder. So we'll get this set. We'll slide the rings over. With the top ring, I'm just going to use a piece of tape to hold it up. Use our straight edge. Bring the cutter out to the edge of the straight edge. Right like so. Alright, now there is a little bit of clearance. These are smaller than the bore. That way we can have the cutter stick out a little bit past. Snug that up. Take a piece of tape. And we'll just put the tape to hold that one up. Now I'm using this tape because it removes without leaving the adhesive. Just some electrical tape. But some of these ones are awful thin to use an O-ring even. But if you're not doing the other one, no ring would be a good option. But just a piece of tape. We'll do the same thing down here. Let's see. Gonna be about there. Now with this one, it's got the offset extension. So we'll slide it up. And we will slide our stop ring up. Just a 4mm right here. Now to set the depth. Alright, let me grab my 8-foot long feeler gauges. Try and do this upside down, a little more difficult. Be easier in the vise. But you take your feeler gauge and put it on where it's going to hit. This cylinder, the extension is going to hit. So we set this side. Alright. We'd rotate it. Set this side. Alright, just like so. Make sure it's good to go. We'll tighten the set screw. Just like that. Now this cylinder will have to drop down 15 thousandths till it hits that. And as it does so, it's going to cut and cut and cut till the extension hits this stop plate. Once it hits that stop plate, you can gently let it glide around. And we'll take it over to the mill where I can actually cut this. But that's how you do it. You'll just set this plate. If you want to cut 20 thousandths out of the squish band, you set this plate 20 thousandths below what's going to touch. Make sure you check it all the way around, feeler gauge all the way around, just in case this plate's rocked a little bit. But with it in the vise, that's a lot easier to check, both hands. You just 20 thousandths feeler gauge, and then you spin it around until you're touching on the base. We'll take it over to the vise and actually cut and see how this does. But that's how we set it up. Remember, when you're sliding the cylinder down, make sure your clearance is on the cutter sides. So since I made that video last year about cutting squish by hand, a lot of people have asked about getting mandrels. Well, I've been working on a setup to where we can have a universal mandrel and offer different sleeves for different bore sizes. This is a 462 cylinder. This is a 52mm 462 cylinder. These are the 52mm bands. We have a base plate, the cutter, everything's at the angles. This is just a piece of vinyl electrical tape to keep the top ring from sliding down. That removes without a lot of residue. And these are slightly undersized to allow sliding the cylinder over. Now, 462's got the strange extension. So you can see we have pressure going that way so we don't drag the cutter the whole way. And what I did, since this extension is only on the one side here, I used a 15,000 shim and set this plate both sides. That way we can cut until the extension hits this plate, in theory. So we'll try it out, see how it works. Try and do it, stay out of your way. But we should be able to cut until that extension touches our base plate down here. Still see a little bit of gap. So we haven't cut our 15 out yet. Now the goal of the plate on the bottom is to be able to cut it, and then once it touches, you'll have your depth. That's feeling pretty good there. See a little ring starting all the way around. Give it a couple more just to smooth things out. And let's see how it did. Remember, our cutter's over here, so we'll push it that way. Slide it up. And you can see, it does a good job taking the material out. And that is just off the mandrel. One little line there. But if you would have spun it some more, there's one little divot right there. You can almost see on this side of the squish band. But I think spinning it a little bit more would have done that. But you can see that's a pretty acceptable result. Let me get the glare out of here for you. I said that's a pretty acceptable result. That could work without any sanding needed. Now if you're going to cut them by hand, you need to do a lot more measuring, but that's where this plate comes in. You put your feeler gauge under the cylinder. Be a lot easier on full extensions or flat bases, but you just put your feeler gauge under it. 20 thousandths, 30 thousandths, 15 thousandths, whatever you want. And you go until your base just touches. Now it's a good idea to do it in small increments, because once you start getting some spots, they're a lot harder to get out. Let me turn the light off, see if that helps. I'm actually really impressed with how well that did do. Turn the light back on. Like I said, there's one little warble over there. But overall, I'm really impressed with how that did. That's not too bad at all. Alright, so we're over at the bench now. Like I said, we see that it does a pretty good job. I'd run that. Nothing you can really see. Like I said, spin it around a few more times, that'd be completely gone. No need to sand. But here's what we have. Show you a little bit closer. 1/2-inch bolt in the bottom. As long as you go clockwise with all your cutting, that's not going to turn out. But same thing. If you want to dedicate a spot on your bench, drill a hole, bolt it through. And so we're going to offer sleeves. Now this mandrel is going to be 44.3 millimeter for the 346. And we'll be able to take it all the way up to 60 millimeter for 3120s, 880s. We could special make some sleeves for 66 even. But this one mandrel is going to be from 44.3 all the way to 60 millimeter. And that 44.3 will work with 45, 46, and we'll make sleeves for 47 and up. So I just wanted to go over this with everybody, see what everybody thought. These will be available on the store. I'll put a link in the description. Going to do a limited run at first. And if they sell, then we'll keep adding more. But what my thoughts are, is you'll get one 44.3 mandrel and one set of sleeves. That'll be the base price. Come just like this. Stop plate, the mandrel, the cutter, the set screws, and one pair of sleeves. Now these sleeves, just a piece of tape to hold it up. Set the top one right below the cutter there. Same thing wherever your cylinder is, whatever size. Set that real close to the bottom. Just use a feeler gauge to set this bottom plate. But doing these by hand, you'll have to come up with your own system of what works and what doesn't. Your own checks, your own measurements, everything. But these will remove the material from the squish band. Like I said, this is the mandrel. Just clamp it in the vise like I had it on the bolt. Go clockwise, it's not going to go anywhere. Nice and solid. That's a 1/2 inch bolt in there. And that ring's a nice snug fit. And it'll do. Good. We got plenty of room to drop 3120s or 880s or whatever cylinder you want. So like I said, if you guys are interested in these, let me know. And like I said, the big one is going to be, this big size is going to be from 44.3 on up. And we'll have a small one. This will be probably 32 millimeter. And we'll cross over right in between. We'll probably take this one up to 47. That way, if you do a lot of 45s, that way if you do a lot of 45 millimeter and smaller bores, you can use the small mandrel. And this will have a stop plate and everything else, just like this. But we'll take this started at 32, and we'll go up to 47. Because if you go too far out, that's putting an awful lot of faith on the one set screw to not move down. But we should be able to get 47 plenty easy. This will have a stop plate on the bottom. Same exact setup. Like I said, we'll offer this as 32 with one set of sleeves. That'll be on the website. And then all the other sleeves will be made to order, optional, if you want to complete your set. That way you don't have to buy all of them. You can get one mandrel with one set of sleeves, and all the other sleeves will be extra. But I just wanted to go over with everybody. I was pretty happy with the way that cut. Pretty happy with this design. And with any tools, once we get a few out there, if we have some other issues or whatnot, we'll work on making them better. But these will get the squish cut. We'll remove material. If you do all your measurements, take your time. Seems to do a really nice job. But I just wanted to show these. We'll have these ready. We'll start taking orders and make a few sets of them. We'll see how they do. Everybody been asking. I'd had a ton of emails. Where they at? Where they at? Well, they're here.